Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. Hello? Hello?
unless you remember what you had in here.
Oh, shoot it, I'm sorry.
Did you remember what combination? Was it that's right now the podium and Zoom.
They got it.
But do you remember how Gary wanted it?
No, I
Oh,
didn't.
well, he's fixing the screens.
Is that Patrick?
Patrick, yeah.
Yeah, tell us what,
Yeah. Yeah.
Patrick, right now we have the podium on the back wall.
Can you tell him to turn on mic 8 just to talk into it and see if it's popping up on Zoom?
Yeah, I think 8 is, check, 8 is on.
You want to see it in Zoom, you want me to talk?
One.
I think one of them should, one of the.
Check.
Facing this way so we can see who's on Zoom.
Check, you hear it?
Maybe
Okay.
that one, I think he wants that one on Zoom.
This one on Zoom.
Yeah, that could stay like, that should be okay, but one of these should be Zoom. I don't know if he wants that one or that one.
No, it's easy to see that.
Yeah, because he's wanna know who's on Zoom, you can't see it that way.
I think it's this one because every time
Oh, yeah.
it's this way, when I'm talking to someone on Zoom.
That should be Zoom, that should be fine for the podium this way, because we can basically see that. But that one you can't see it off of Zoom. That's just my thing, I would.
So that's now Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom here, right?
Yeah, Zoom there, definitely Zoom
Now
there.
it's Zoom at all three.
Yeah, because sometimes when they have the Zoom, we have somebody giving a presentation, so we need to see the presentation. Because I don't know if we'll see it on Zoom on this. I don't know. I don't know all the.
Plus, it makes sense to look this way at the person who's presenting as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a little mic?
Oh, no, that's,
Two has to go back to one, right?
that's podium.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's right. So 2 is 1, 1 maybe 2. I'll change this one. That's not right?
That's fine.
1 is 2, and 1 should be 1. So maybe that's monitor 3.
Too much on this.
3 will make 1. Let's try 3 is 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
let's do it.
that's how I thought we had it originally, but I don't know. Right now it's Zoom. Alright,
Yeah, that's the grand, that's true. So that's.
so I think that one is 3, so maybe it's 1, 2, 3. He said he was gonna label
That's why,
the
that's
router.
why I like the Black Magic with the little monitor.
Yeah.
And you can see the
No, but he's
picture.
gotta at least label the router so I
Yeah,
know which
yeah,
monitor is
yeah.
which, make this 1, whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
Our meeting's for 6, right?
Yeah, I thought it was at 6.
Check 1, 2.
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
Testing. 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 No,
Testing. Testing microphone number 1. Microphone number 2. Testing microphone number 3. Testing number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Microphone 7. Number 8.
I'm not making August meeting.
I'm not making September's meeting.
Podium microphone. Testing. Test.
I'm here for August.
I won't.
No, that's, you know,
Welcome, everybody, to the special meeting of the Rye Town Council on July 25th, 2024. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Heavenly Father, bless this assemblage, grant us the wisdom to make every decision fair-minded in the best interest for all its residents. Amen.
Thank you. Hope, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jill Axelrod.
Here.
Councilperson Thomas Nardi.
Here.
Councilperson Randy Selyer.
Here,
Sounds surprised.
and present, and accounted for.
And Councilperson Pamela Jaffe.
Definitely here, in a different spot.
And Supervisor Gary Zuckerman.
Yes, I'm here too. Our first item is a public hearing to authorize the submittal of 2 applications to Westchester County's Community Development Block Grant Program. One for the reconstruction of the Rye Town Park Bathhouse retaining wall, and the other, the restoration of the sidewalk running along the park's promenade to bring it into conformity with the Americans with Disabilities Act. May I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. Joe.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and we have with us, Debbie is on vacation. We have with us our administrative intern, Ruby Tower, who will tell us about the program and the applications. Ruby, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to be discussing both project applications. First, the retaining wall, and then the sidewalk. So the first project is the retaining wall. I have the photos up here. The retaining wall is deteriorating, and it's inadequate, failing, and has created unsafe conditions in the area surrounding the wall, which has forced us to set up safety fencing. The safety fencing is currently blocking a row of disabled parking spots, making the spaces unavailable to park, for park visitors with disabilities. And the proposed work for this project involves demolishing the existing wall and installing a new reinforced concrete wall and footing. So I'll scroll through these photos.
Sure, go slower on the pictures, Ruby, just so everybody gets an idea, especially those who see this on TV or so why we need to do this work.
So it's an extensive amount of wall.
The wall that's gonna go back up, is it gonna be, do you know okay.
Ask all the questions when Ruby's
Okay.
I think we get the idea, thank you.
And then next, this is our current anticipated budget for the wall. It comes to $537,048 total. And the CDBG maximum amount is $200,000, but it requires a 50-50 match regardless. And then the last document for this project is the site plan.
It ends at 9. It goes around.
It goes around, okay,
Right.
I wasn't 100% sure, thank you.
And then for the, everyone's done looking at this.
Before we do that, okay, you were going to go on to the walk now? Okay. Tommy had a question
Okay.
about this.
With the wall construction, are we doing a block wall, a poured concrete wall?
No, it's going to be, I believe it's poured concrete with reinforced concrete with a stucco covering to match.
To match what's there.
To match what's there. And obviously, this has, since every structure in the park is on both the United States and the New York State Register of Historic Places, we have to get SHPO approval,
Okay.
State Historic Preservation Office, to do it, which we've done, and we've already done the seeker on the retaining wall.
So it's gonna be basically, what we see there is gonna be similar?
That is correct.
Okay.
Pam?
Quick question in that if the grant is 200K
Yes.
and it's 548, is the city of Rye going to come to the table as well?
Well, let me explain how this is working. It's a very good question because, as you know, this project is located at Rytown Park. And the applicant for CDBG, and I'll get into other financing after, the applicant for CDBG has to be the town of Rye because the town is a member of the Westchester County Urban Consortium that is in charge of dispersing CDBG funds. Rytown Park Commission is not, nor is the city of Rye, for whatever reason they chose not to be. So the applicant is the town of Rye. We have gotten CDBG funds for the park before to do the bathhouse exterior, to do the path, to do the ramps. We've gotten CDBG money for all of those things in one way or another. So this is more of the same. It's a 50% match. And as you can see, normally if it was 400,000, we'd have to come up with 200,000. Since it's more, we'd have to come up with more. But who is the we? Randy was joking with me earlier. The fact is, we have no less than 5 applications in to do this work. The CDBG is one of them. We are also applying to, through the CFA process, to New York State Parks, which is also a 50-50 match. We have requested a LOCAP grant from Senator Shelley Mayer's office, which we've requested $250,000 from them. I'm not sure how much will be available, but we've requested that. We have already filed and are waiting for an answer with the United States Parks Department. I guess it's the Department of the Interior, but United States Park Service. They're the same people who gave us the grant for the African American Cemetery. They have a program called Restoring Our National Treasures, and we submitted an application last year on that program, which is also a 50% match program. And last but not least, we have requested money from our congressional representatives, both Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand, to also fund the project. So don't ask me what happens if we get all of that money. Obviously, we can only spend what it costs, but
I will ask what happens if we get none of that money.
the other thing is, right now we don't have any of the money. So the philosophy that we have followed is we make the applications, we get the money, but some of the money that we requested is also, we can roll it into another project. For example, money that we've requested from CFA is both for the retaining wall and the promenade walk that Ruby will speak about momentarily. And if we don't, normally their grants are a lump sum for both projects, so that we can probably shift it. We've done this before, where we've gotten a grant that covers several projects, and then we establish what the priority is for the project. So that's basically the philosophy and how it works. What we're hoping for is that ultimately, we will not have to make a local match with taxpayer dollars for this project. That is what the goal is. Whether it will come to fruition, we will see. That answer? Yes, Jill?
I think for the sake of everyone watching, I mean, it's clear that the wall is in a state of decay, but why do we need it?
Well, because it's a historic structure and they're not gonna allow us to demolish it, for one
Does
thing.
it serve a functional purpose?
And it does. If you
Yeah,
look
so
at
I think
the,
it's worth knowing, we're spending.
the functional purpose is that it's a retaining wall. At least the part near the bathhouse is. It retains the land. I don't know, do you have a picture of it? From the, I don't know if you have a picture that quite shows
That
that.
slopes down. I believe that slopes down.
Not
Yeah,
that
on the
one.
other
I think you
side.
need to go back. Lou. There. If you see on the left,
Yes.
that is the area behind the wall, and the wall retains that land, which is approximately, I would say, 5 or 6 feet above the level of the parking lot. So that serves that function.
Retains it from flooding or?
From falling into the parking lot?
Oh, okay, I see.
From the earth moving into the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
So it is a retaining wall, and it does serve a structural function.
Okay.
And
And is it, because of the state of disrepair, is it in fact serving any functional purpose right now? Is it still able to
It's-
do what we need it to do, or?
Yeah, because the base of it is still intact.
Okay.
Okay,
we're
but
gonna
it
tear
is
down
falling apart,
completely
but we're,
regardless.
yeah, but it is in such a state of disrepair. I mean, we have looked at the idea of putting trees or something instead, but we're still dealing with a historic structure, and we would still need approval of SHPO to do any changes. So if we don't get any money, then we'll go to Plan B. But right now, this is what the plan is.
The park was built, what, in 1927,
1906.
1906, and that's original.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So it's original, and you can't Band-Aid it anymore. It's just, it's starting to
Have
bow.
we been doing that all along, piecemeal?
Yes.
In fact, if you'll recall, Ruby, show the next picture down. The exterior of the bathhouse was in that kind of a condition. We had an estimate to do the repair. For example, if you look at the windows, those are new windows that we got with our grants. And the original contract was to do the windows and the area around the windows. Above, you see that ledge? That was the original contract. And the contractor found that the wall itself was in such disrepair, it was falling apart. So we had to do a separate, with taxpayer money, we had to redo the exterior of the bathhouse entirely. And we were able to use about $80,000 of leftover parks money from the state to do that. But we had to put in, the town of Rye and the city of Rye, another about, I don't remember the number, something around $200,000 worth to do that.
Voted on that in the past year, I think, right?
Yeah, last year.
It looks good.
Yeah, and hopefully the wall will look the same in about less than a year.
Yeah. It's good to see when it's completed, how much better.
You know, a lot of work over the years has been done to the park, you know, and it gets to the point where you can't do a repair anymore. It's gotta be replaced, you know, especially with this wall, because it's actually in sections, it's bowing. And the last thing you wanna do is to collapse. It's bowing a little bit, and you don't want it to collapse,
Yeah,
you know?
Especially on people.
yeah.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
that's the reason why that's the reason why it's all fenced off, so you, in
Yeah.
case anything happens, nobody's in that
Yeah,
area.
I understand.
All right. Any other questions on this project?
There are two Facebook comments. Do you want me to read them now or at the end about this project?
Well, we can read them. This is a public hearing. Members of the public.
Okay. The first is, why wasn't this done last fall or in the spring?
Why wasn't it done? Because there was no money to do it.
And then
Where, this is, for that, whoever's comment, do you want to name the person?
her name's Mary Ann.
All right, Mary Ann, we have been applying to do this work. This is obviously necessary. And as I just stated, we have made several applications. At some point, it might come to the, we might have the problem of having to fund it ourselves, but we feel very, very good that we will be getting grants and not have to use taxpayer money to do this. And we're looking, if the grants are approved, we're looking to do this work hopefully before the next beach season.
And then the second question is, when are the bathrooms going to be done, and that they've been horrible for years?
We agree. We have money to do some of the work. We have a grant of $427,000 from the state to do the bathhouse interior. We have to match that with another $427,000. We have applied to the county, and I have to credit our legislators, Nancy Barr and Catherine Parker, for adding that to the capital budget at the last legislative session that passed the budget. The amount was added in, and I reported at the Rydtown Park Commission meeting last week that it had to go to the county planning board for approval, which it did and was approved. So now it'll go, it had to get that to get formally into the county budget, county capital budget. And now we're moving forward, talking with the planning department and the county executive's office to get this to the Board of Legislators for legislative approval to do the, to get that. And with those two grants, that would be almost $900,000, which is about what our estimate is. And of course, I say this every time we apply and say what something's going to cost. We won't know the actual cost of the project until we bid it and and receive the bids. That will determine the final cost. And hopefully we'll stay reasonably close to the estimate. Any other questions? Okay. Proceed.
So the second project is the sidewalk at Rydtown Park, the accessible path, rather. The park promenade is very difficult to navigate for people with disabilities, and it is not ADA compliant. The reason this condition exists is because erosion has worn away at the top layer of the crushed stone, which has exposed larger unstable stones underneath. The path is not slip resistant and is therefore not ADA compliant. And there's currently is a sidewalk present, but it is too short and it is crumbling. The proposed work for this project includes installing a 4-foot wide ADA compliant asphalt or concrete sidewalk connecting existing ADA compliant walking surfaces to the north and the south, creating a continuous, hardened and firm pedestrian route between Dearborn Avenue to the south and Playland Park Boardwalk to the north. And the same as the previous application, the max is 200,000, but the current estimate for the construction alone is 200,000, and that's without the soft cost, but once again, needs to be matched 50/50.
All right.
So the photos.
You have more photos? The one there on the bottom, with the people on the left, that's the existing crumbling path, which is only located on the northern part of the promenade, near the north gate and the snack bar. And more pictures?
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Do you have the drawing?
Yeah.
All right, that is the proposed pathway. And you can see that it goes from, on the left, you can see that is the ticket booth. And, yeah, where Ruby, point that again where you were, that is asphalt there, that continues in front of the tower building. And then, the proposed path would go along the promenade, as you can see, all the way up to the north gate on the right. Yep,
So that's basically gonna be from the pavilions up, right? Because everything to the,
no, the pavilions are,
they're sound.
well, the pavilions in front of the tower building are all, there's asphalt
Yeah.
walkway there.
Mhm.
So that goes basically from the ticket booth, which is that
Yes.
little square thing on the left.
Yep.
And then you can see where Ruby's, that's the new ramp that moves to the right, that goes down to the beach, correct? And the new pathway would go along the promenade on the seaside level and going all the way up to the north end.
Okay.
And the width of the new pathway, will it be that
It's 5
full
feet.
sidewalk?
It'll be
or
5
will it
feet,
be-
5 feet.
So it will actually be the entire pathway?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, the pathway is like at least 12 feet wide, maybe
Okay.
more. You can see the relative dimensions. I mean, it's only a small part of it.
But it's wider than it is now. It feels like, felt like when we saw the picture, it was a very slim strip.
Yeah, I think it will be wider than it is now. I don't have those numbers in front of me. And once again, we are applying not only to CDBG, we are applying through the CFA process as part of our application for the retaining wall. It also includes the application for the path. And the limit there, unlike CDBG, is not $200,000. I believe that's the parks limit is 500,000. I'm not sure about that, but it's certainly at least double what the CDBG is. And also, we've applied to Senator Mayor's office. If we have funds that are not used on the retaining wall, they can also be applied to the path. Okay? Questions from the council?
Yeah, quick question. In the package here, we have an estimate for a concrete sidewalk and an estimate for an asphalt sidewalk. How will it be determined which way to go? The
Probably.
concrete is $80,000 more.
Well, I think a lot of that may depend on how much of grant money we get. And it'll be, Randy, it will be bid in the alternative. So we will have a choice.
Is concrete considered to be preferable generally to asphalt?
Yeah, I would prefer the concrete if we had the choice. It's much longer lasting and probably looks better. The gray area, the gray concrete probably looks better in the promenade than the black asphalt would. And it would last longer.
That's why it's $80,000 more.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Cooler
can pay
to the
for it.
foot for our four-footed friends who love the promenade.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Are there any questions on this project on Facebook? No?
Nope.
Okay, who is on Zoom? Because I can't,
James and Vic,
James and Vic? Okay. James, do you have any comment? Or are you good? James is our engineer who's currently on vacation.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gary. I didn't know you're talking to me. Yes, I have no comment. I think Ruby did a great job presenting the project.
Thank you. Thank you on behalf of Ruby. Okay. Now, seeing no other questions, no members of the public being present in the room, may I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Sullivan,
Yes.
and Councilperson Jaffe.
Did you forget me down here? I don't know who I am anymore. Yes.
Supervisor Zucker.
Yes. And Ruby, I want to thank you. This is your first presentation before the council, and you did a excellent job.
And welcome.
Stellar presentation.
You joining us?
Thank you.
Okay, now we have resolutions. 3.2. Resolution authorizing the submittal of an application to Westchester County's Community Development Block Grant Program for the reconstruction of the Rye-Town Park Bathhouse retaining wall. I think we've kind of explored this whole thing already. May I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Hope, please call the roll.
Sure. Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilperson Jaffe? And
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. The next resolution, authorizing a submittal of an application to Westchester County's Community Development Block Grant Program for restoration of the Park Promenade sidewalk to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Call the roll, please.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Sullivan?
Yes.
And Councilperson Jaffe?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes, thank you.
I think Hope wants her regular spot back.
I'm so used to saying Sullivan. And I'm looking right at you.
Well, you could just have it written down and check people off. So
I'm looking right at you.
we have that application will be filed in August. And, obviously, we had a public hearing because it is required under federal law that we have a public hearing before the application is submitted. Our next resolution is a resolution authorizing Jeff Binder, our town attorney, to retain him at a rate of $280 per hour for legal work relating to the prosecution of certain in-rem foreclosure proceedings in the town of Rye. And, in Jeff's resolution appointing him the town attorney, it specifies other litigation as well, but both he and I thought it would be good if we just specifically specified to do the in-rem litigation. There are currently 8 properties subject to in-rem. 3 of them are residential, the other 5 are commercial. I am specifically interested in commencing legal proceedings against 3 of the commercial properties. One of them owes $101,000. Another one owes $132,000, and the third owes almost $150,000. So I have said many times before that we need to set funds aside for our taxpayers who are in arrears. These happen to be advanced. Each of them is a minimum of 3 years in arrears. But we have to set aside reserves for all arrears when we do our budgeting, which means that means it's less money available to the town for normal governmental purposes, and serves to increase the tax rate on those residents who do pay their taxes timely. So we have adopted a program of aggressively, I hate to say going after, but aggressively trying to collect our tax arrears. And if you'll remember, at the last meeting, our controller advised that our arrears are only, right now, about 1%, which is very good. It's the best it's ever been. But one of the reasons is that we have an aggressive policy of collecting our back taxes. So with that prelude, may I have a motion and a second?
Can I just ask
Sure.
a quick question? You mentioned, I believe you said there were 6 commercial properties?
Yes.
And are the 3 that you didn't mention at a point where you're still hopeful of negotiation, or the amount is too low?
Yeah, this is the thinking, and I've mentioned this, I think, before. The law was changed last year for in-rem foreclosures, so that we are limited in the amount of fees that can be recouped when we start a proceeding. Obviously, it costs a certain amount of money to instigate legal proceedings. So if the ultimate legal bill, for example, is $10,000 to collect this money, it's one thing to spend $10,000 to collect $150,000. One of our properties owes $16,700. The amount of time and effort that goes into collecting $16,000 is not a lot different than the amount of time and effort going in to collect $100,000 or $300,000 or $800,000. So we're going to start with the properties that owe the most money, and we will send notices to all of the other properties, and hopefully they, as well as the homeowners who are on arrears, will bring their arrears current without the need to file a legal petition in Supreme Court.
That makes perfect sense. Just remind us, what is there's a cap on legal, and how's that calculated?
2%.
2% of the amount in controversy?
Yes.
And so the state legislature, in its
Infinite wisdom,
as they say, or characteristic stupidity, has put a cap that makes many actions not economically viable.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it, but it's not economically viable. And if we're looking to save the taxpayer money, then to spend a large sum of money to collect a small sum of money doesn't make a lot of sense.
So they only get 2% of the bill that we spend? I mean,
On legal fees. In other words,
yeah, on legal fees, that's all they pay.
on fees, yeah, it's
Yeah.
$250 or 2% of the outstanding balance, whichever is greater.
In other words, that amount is assessed to the defendant,
Correct.
and anything on top of that, if you went that route, would be paid for by the plaintiff, that is us.
That is correct.
Gary, just based on your comment that it would take the same amount of legal work or time to pursue an action for a small sum of money as opposed to a large sum of money, I realize that it would be totally case dependent, but do we have a sense of how many hours of legal work it generally takes, or how much we generally pay in legal fees to?
We can ask the
Okay.
attorney who's done the work.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
if-
as I said, taking into account that
If you will-
clearly it'd be case
If you will
dependent.
remember, that was an item of controversy at the last general election.
Yes. So
So-
I think it's worth mentioning if it's something you're comfortable speaking on.
Speak at the microphone. By the way, just for the members of the public, we've had this discussion when we were doing the budget last year, and Jeff had presented to the council what I think he's gonna probably say now.
All you
I
have to
think-
do is remember what you said.
I have it on tape.
It's really very difficult, because some properties have many lien holders. You know, when we do a title search, there could be many entities that have an interest in the property, that have recorded some sort of lien, that need to be notified and then need to be interacted with. Some properties, it's just a single property owner that it could take a letter and a few phone calls, some emails back and forth that might result in full payment. My experience with these cases has been, most of them are very involved. Everyone has a particular, circumstance as to why they haven't paid. And then I get very involved in them. And my objective is not to take the property. My objective is to collect the arrearages. So my pattern in practice has been to work with people along the way. But that requires time and effort, and my office gets inundated with phone calls as soon as we send out our initial letter. It's really very hard to tell you a specific amount on each case. If we want to go back and look at my billings from the prior batches, that would probably inform proportionately how much time I'd spend on each case. You'd have to take my billings, aggregate them, and then divide them by the properties, but that doesn't mean, one property took the same amount of time as another property.
Sure.
That's sort of a long way of answering. I really don't know yet. It's very, very circumstantial. It's, each property owner has a particular, story that I have to get into, and I try to work with them. But that, I accrue time when that happens. But I think that's a better result than actually taking someone's property.
No, 100%. Do you know, do we have a statistic as to your success rate in settling or getting payment in lieu of having to go into foreclosure with the cases that you've already handled? Because it seems like it's been.
Well, we haven't taken a property in a long time.
Yeah.
Which I think, I think that's telling to my efforts, right?
Yes.
But on the other side of the coin, I accumulated legal fees.
Oh, 100%.
So,
No, I just think it's worth
you know.
noting for people that might not keep track of things that we have had great success and not had to, take properties and yet still have the debt collected to the benefit of all the other taxpayers who have been paying. So I just sort of wanted to put that on the record for people that don't know the inner workings or what goes on behind the scenes in the practice of law and the importance of settlement in lieu of, going forward.
I've practiced commercial litigation for 43 years, and not surprisingly, clients often ask, what's it going to cost? And the answer is, it depends. Because a lot of it is not in your control. It depends on what the other side does, what you discover. For example, as you mentioned, if there are other lien holders involved, that means that the owner of the property in question has accumulated debts to a number of other interested parties, and so a number of creditors, including the town, are fighting it out.
Right.
So it depends, but, and unfortunately, some people in commercial cases, are not going to pay even when they owe the money until they're absolutely pushed to the wall and don't have any alternative. Then they pay. And the fact that you haven't, or the town hasn't actually taken any properties, but has been active in collections, I think illustrates that. Because it's another way of saying, at the end of the day, almost everybody pays what they owe.
I'm hoping that my track record continues. The change in the law actually creates a little bit of a disincentive, unfortunately, to pay. Because now, if we get to the point where we have to take a property and sell it, the taxpayer gets the windfall, gets the delta between our taxes and the sale price. So that, as the town supervisor, I think, has explained on a number of occasions, this new law has created actually a little bit of a disincentive to settle up with the town, because at the end of the day, they'll get, it's as if we became their real estate agent.
Yeah, that, exactly. In other words, if they don't want to sell the property, we would auction it and then have to give the surplus back to the property owner,
So I'm not really.
if there is a surplus.
So it's really unclear how this is gonna play out during this round. I'm gonna do my best to collect for the town in advance of formally commencing an action. So, I mean, I'll keep you posted, and I'm sure the town supervisor will keep you posted
Yeah.
on how this works.
Yeah, well, we have the unique position of being fiduciaries of the taxpayers' money. I mean, a private corporation can pursue, commercial real estate however they want to, but I just feel like people might be asking these questions, and, I would like to kind of be their representative, so the information is there on the record. Fortunately, I do know the work that you've done and the success that you've had, but I do think people would want to hear about that so they can understand where the fee structure comes in and the necessity for it, so.
One of the problems is once you go to court, I was with Jeff, and luckily it was on Zoom. We had filed an in rem petition against a commercial property owner on North Main Street. And they put in an answer. I mean, sometimes they don't put in an answer and you go to judgment. They put in an answer. They fought it in court. It was involved, the ownership was involved with an estate. So it was a question of who had the authority to do anything. There were at least 3 Zoom sessions that I attended, as well as our attorney. Of course, they wanted to know, is there anything that could be done? And I had to be there to say, this is the position of the town, et cetera, et cetera. And I actively engaged. Of course, I didn't get paid, but Jeff got paid for it. And this went on and on. I would say that took close to a year to resolve.
My question is this: say we take over a property, do we add your fees onto the resale of that property when we go to auction it off? Is that our starting point? Like whatever the back taxes plus 100% of your time?
It used to be.
It used to, but still 2%.
Can't-
Still 2%.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
In fact, the change was such that it almost didn't matter, because the auction price far exceeded the tax and interest due, so that the town got a windfall, and obviously whatever the attorney had charged. And also when we sold the property, we also paid for Jeff didn't handle it, Dan handled the auction. And so that all got wrapped up, and the town still came out ahead. That's no longer the case.
Yeah.
Jeff, what's the interest rate that gets added in if there's a default?
Well, the interest rate that accrues
Yeah.
on arrearages right now is 12%, but the state legislation reduced it to 6.
They reduced it to 6,
Yeah.
okay.
No, they reduced it to prime, which is a little higher. Yeah, that hasn't been signed yet, and as I mentioned at the last meeting, we're fighting it.
Okay.
It's on the governor's desk.
No, it isn't. It's not on the governor's desk yet. She's not gonna call for it probably till December. But the Association of Towns, NICOM, Association of Counties are all opposed to her signing that legislation. So we'll see where it goes.
If that legislation is actually signed, there's a further disincentive to settle up with the town. Let's say you have a credit card bill that's 25,000, and then you have the town bill
At
that's
a 30% interest rate.
What are you gonna pay first?
Well, Hope knows, what is the interest rate changes? Hope is a prior receiver of taxes. What is the interest rate that we are charging currently?
Well, the lien gets transferred to the Westchester County, and then it's at 12%, and then it's 1% per month thereafter, so it's interest on top of the penalties. So every year that it's 24% and 36%. So homeowners did pay a high rate of interest. So that was a windfall if they paid their taxes.
And will the 6% be flat, or you were talking about increases of 1%?
Every month it's.
But
yeah.
no, now it would be, or it's going to be capped at 6%, is that what you're saying?
At prime, which is
Oh, at prime, which is,
Yeah, which
okay.
is down at about 8%,
Oh,
but it would be yearly.
okay, each year.
So
each year.
it's a disincentive for the taxpayer to pay their property tax rather than their credit card bill, or if their mortgage had reset or something like that, they would pay other things, which would have the effect of putting more properties actually in REM, because it would be building, and then we would have to, they would not be paying voluntarily, and then we would have to start court proceedings. So that's, I mean, as Jeff said, our goal is simply to collect the taxes. That's what we'd like to do. And if if the taxpayer pays on time, there's no interest. It's as simple as that. So, any other questions?
Nope.
May I have a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Hope, please call the roll.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Selyer?
Yes.
Councilperson Jaffe?
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. Thank you. And now, we have an executive session to discuss a specific personnel matter. We will not be coming back into public session. There will be no resolutions passed on this matter. And so I'd like a motion and a second to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We're now in executive session. Thank you.